WDAM, Laurel, Hattiesburg. You're watching News 7 Night Beat. You've got 7 on your side.
Interstate 59 south of Hattiesburg is littered with wrecked 18-wheelers tonight.
Officials say home is the best place to stay. Good evening. Welcome to the Night Beat. Thank you so much for joining us. Roads and bridges are frozen and some are closed across the Pine Belt tonight.
We've got extensive coverage of the situation, and let's get things started right now by checking in with Megan to find out the very latest on the weather situation. Megan.
Thanks, guys. Well, that storm that brought us a very rare winter weather event has finally cleared the Pine Belt. A few spots are still seeing a few light snow flurries, it looks like, according to our Southern Pine Electric Power radar. But for the most part, all of the precipitation is about out of our way, and we're just looking at overcast skies overnight. Now, the storm did leave behind some very dangerous driving conditions in its wake. Freezing rain, sleet, and snow have combined, making for a really tricky travel situation. Hattiesburg is actually currently under a curfew, and that's going to go until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if you don't need to be out on the roadways, absolutely stay in tonight. And furthermore, incentive to do that is our very cold temperatures in the forecast, only looking for a low of about 15 degrees. More details on that coming up later on, guys.
Meanwhile, there is a curfew for Hattiesburg residents.
Yep, Mayor Johnny Dupree made that announcement tonight during our 6 o'clock news.
We're going to have issued a curfew from 8 p.m. tonight to 7 a.m. in the morning. You know, the conditions have gotten worse since we were on at noon. You know, just sitting at a traffic light and going from a dead stop, I mean, it's treacherous. And we don't need you out if you don't need to be out. So what we're asking for is those essential functions, such as after-hour clinics, pharmacies, even service stations, people traveling through Hattiesburg. We're not saying that they should close or even send people home, but if you don't need those essential services, then don't go out there. We're trying to not only are we trying to make sure that the traveling public and citizens are safe, we need to make sure that our public safety people are safe, because they have to, you know, if there's a wreck, if there's a topple over, well, they have to go out for that, and we're trying to keep them in as much as possible as well.
And the city of Hattiesburg was closed today. What's the status of that tomorrow?
Well, we will be closed tomorrow. It'll be the same as we did today. We won't have mass transit. We won't have our garbage collection as we didn't have today. We'll assess tomorrow what will happen on Wednesday. You know, what's going to happen is basically you get 17-degree weather tonight, and those roads that are not traveled, as the nightfall comes in, those roads are not traveled. It becomes just a sheet of ice. Not only just the bridges, but also the roads. We've put down we have 60,000 pounds of salt that we've put down on bridges, and we'll continue to do that until it lasts. But you know, we can't do every road and every bridge in Hattiesburg. It's just not possible, and that's why we issued the curfew. You get that sheet of ice coming in, and it's night, and you can't see. It's going to be really treacherous, and so you know, this is a good time to sit at home and read a book, converse with your spouse, play with your children. It's a good time to just take it easy and stay at home.
Good advice, and across the Pine Belt, staying at home is the theme tonight.
Yeah, joining us on the phone tonight is Lieutenant John Traxler with the latest on road conditions. Traxler, what can you tell us? We've been hearing a lot about 18-wheelers piling up south of I-59.
Yes. Right. We've got lots of wrecks out there right now, especially on I-59. I-59 is blocked from Hardy and 59 south, and from Highway 98 and 59 north. The roads are very icy. I just came from the south end of town, and bridges and all are iced over. We ask everyone to stay in.
What about any injuries with that pileup?
Yes, there was 2 minor injuries with the 5 18-wheelers and 2 vehicles. Since then, we've had 4 more 18-wheelers that have overturned in different areas on I-59 as well, right around the same area. So again, we're asking everyone to stay off the highways. Just stop where they're at, park, wait till morning.
Okay, and how long do you think that area where the 18-wheelers are will be cleaned up and cleared out?
Well, depending on the records that we can get in there, that's going to be the main thing. Is we don't have that many records to cover everything right now, so we're just having to take our time, moving one at a time, and get the rest of them in and out.
Okay, and what words or what do you have to say about tomorrow? I imagine that things aren't going to be too much better Wednesday, because it's not going to get very, very high. The highs tomorrow aren't going to get very high.
That's correct. We're not expecting the temperatures to get very high, so we're expecting the ice and all to stay there. It may thaw a little bit, but of course that's just going to leave more liquid on the road that when the temps start dropping again, they're going to freeze again. So we're asking people again tomorrow to stay off the roadways. If it's a dire emergency and you have to get out, make sure someone knows where you go and the route you plan to take, so that if something does happen and we don't know about it, we can know where to find you at.
And have an alternate route as well that you can
Yes.
take. Thank you, Lieutenant Traxler. We appreciate very much your taking the time to brief our viewers on the situation. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
All right, well, 7 on your side's Rachel Beach has been at the scene of these wrecks on I-59 all night.
Yeah, and she joins us now on the phone with the latest on the situation. Rachel, looks like a real mess from the video you've been sending back.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I'm out here on I-59 South in the wake of a huge mess. That is the only way I can put it at this point. First responders have flooded the area to tend to an accident involving 9 18-wheeler trucks. This is just blatant proof that you do not need to be out here in this weather during this mess. Now, they're expecting to be cleaning this mess up until the early morning hours, and actually just spoke to Lieutenant Bounds, who was the first on the scene, and he's from the Hattiesburg Police Department, about what's going on out here.
You had an 18-wheeler that had rear-ended a small passenger vehicle, shot the small passenger vehicle off the median. 18-wheeler flipped over in the median. Once the other vehicles came up upon it, they all started slowing down. The roads are solid ice, and they started jackknifing. And we've got 5 18-wheelers right here at the exit on exit 63 that are turned over, and we got 2 more just south of us that are flipped over.
Okay, great. And do we know how many injuries have been reported yet?
So far, just 1 injury.
Okay.
Nothing life-threatening.
Okay, and is there anything else that you would like to add or maybe tell the public about what's going on?
Please stay off the roads. Please stay off the roads.
All right, thank you so much. All right, and I cannot reiterate enough what Lieutenant Bounds just said. Take precautionary measures at all costs, and if you can avoid the roads at all costs, do it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rachel, for keeping us up to date on how it is out there tonight.
Yeah, and also stay warm. Most of our reporters were out in that cold all day.
Absolutely.
Well, the Mississippi Department of Transportation spent the day working hard to help keep the roads passable.
As passable as possible.
As possible.
7 on your side's Vanessa Pacheco reports, even with their tireless efforts, though, they say staying home is the best way to be safe.
The Pine Belt is expected to feel this winter weather's wrath into Wednesday, and law enforcement asked residents to avoid all roads if possible. But unfortunately, not everyone could stay at home.
This afternoon we got a call of an overturned 18-wheeler with another vehicle involved, possible injuries. We got here, the truck driver was complaining of pain. So far it's been pretty good. We've had a few vehicles off in the ditch, nothing major, of course, nothing like this today. We're hoping it stays that way. We're asking people to stay off the roadways. If you don't have to be out there, please don't, unless it's just an absolute emergency.
For those who can't avoid the roads, the Mississippi Department of Transportation is doing this.
Right now our crews are placing salt brine on bridges. We're sanding some bridges. We also have rock salt applications we're putting out, trying to keep our bridges open and free of ice.
Since Monday morning, MDOT's Hattiesburg District 6 facility has applied more than 23,000 gallons of salt brine on roadways and bridges throughout 9 counties in South Mississippi.
Our crews are out there. We're working on the roadways, but with the weather that we're getting, we do expect to have ice.
If you have to leave your home, make sure to drive slow and safely.
Avoid the roadways at all, if at all possible. We are definitely seeing icing conditions and dangerous and slippery bridges and roadways as well, and we do expect those conditions to be worse.
Vanessa Pacheco for 7 on your side.
Well, MDOT crews have been instrumental in keeping more bridges from being closed, like this one on Highway 44 west in Marion County. Teams of MDOT workers were out sanding the bridges today. Last night and early this morning, they were spraying bridges with a salt solution. Now, MDOT workers will stay on call throughout this weather event.
Of course, depending on the weather tonight, it shouldn't probably get above freezing, so roads will remain dangerous through tomorrow. Obviously, we'll be back out trying to make the roads as safe as possible for anybody that has to travel, but hopefully most everybody will stay home until it thaws out and gets back to normal.
And once again, we say this one more time. We can't emphasize it often enough. Do not travel unless you absolutely have to, and then use extreme caution.
Icy conditions paralyzed parts of the state north of us.
Yeah, tonight, Courtney Ann Jackson shows us how the state is keeping key operations moving.
I'm here at MEMA headquarters where state agency officials are talking action plans as this winter weather continues to impact the state of Mississippi.
It's pretty obvious that when you look at, the area impacted along the I-20 corridor and south, that it's pretty much played out as we expected it would be.
A lot of those discussions were about road conditions.
The Highway Patrol have worked over 200 accidents today due to the ice storm.
MDOT is advising you to be prepared if you absolutely have to be out on the roads. Carry blankets just in case you happen to get stranded.
When I left home this morning, I kind of hit the gas a little bit and did a bit of a U-turn.
When they get scared, they hit on brakes or they not knowing what really to do in that type of situation.
MDOT workers will work 12-hour shifts today, making sure that the roads stay as clear as possible.
With the continued precipitation that's happening on the coast, it's difficult for the measures that we put in place to be able to get ahead of the icing.
Because of the road conditions, Governor Bryant has said all state offices will be closed till noon Wednesday in the impacted areas.
Probably around 9 or 10 o'clock, we'll all get together, look at the latest forecast, work with the Department of Public Safety and Highway Patrol to see what the road conditions are and make a decision at that point as whether it's safe maybe for individuals to then come in and report to work at noon.
Bottom line is that MEMA believes this winter weather event has been just as significant as they first thought, and we aren't out of the woods yet. At MEMA headquarters, I'm Courtney Ann Jackson.
Dozens of people were able to escape the frigid weather and get a hot meal at Christian Services today. That organization feeds the hungry at its soup kitchen on East 2nd Street every weekday, even in this weather. Today, several dozen people dropped by for good food and a devotional message. They also picked up donated blankets, coats, and gloves.
We decided we were going to come to work this morning because our friends that come in every day are here today. And we told them yesterday, we will be there tomorrow, we will be there Wednesday, we will have hot food for you.
It's one of the many blessings that the Lord have just put here for me and for people like me. It's really a wonderful place to come and just get what you need to survive through times like this.
Christian Services needs donations of jackets and gloves for men, women, and children. If you'd like to donate, you can call either 582-5683 or 270-8323.
Next on the Night Beat, keeping warm can be risky. In fact, a trailer fire in Itawama County that killed 4 people is being blamed on a space heater.
We'll have some expert advice on heating your home without burning it down.
You're watching News 7 Night Beat with Stephen Williams, Carrie Leggett-Brown, Nick Ortego, and Austin Simmons. You've got 7 on your side.
President Obama tonight delivered his assessment of the State of the Union.
In a speech to the Congress and the American people, he called on Congress to restore the nation's belief in opportunity for all. He said upward mobility has stalled for millions of Americans despite 4 years of economic growth, rising corporate profits and stock prices. He's offering proposals he says will boost growth and provide opportunities for financially struggling Americans to work their way into the middle class. But he said he won't wait for Congress and will act on his own wherever and whenever he can. In a Tea Party response, Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee says the widening wealth gap is the fault of the president's policies. Well, it's cold outside, so you want to stay inside.
Absolutely. But Linda Baquero shows us the potential dangers of heating your home this winter and how to stay warm safely.
You could call it a winter wonderland or a painfully cold day. With temperatures in the teens, many homeowners are sparking up their fireplace or plugging in a heater. To do so safely, we asked the Consumer Safety Director for Underwriters Laboratories for tips.
The most common fire with space heaters is
people having combustible materials too close to the heater, especially drapery and curtains, upholstered furniture, and certainly bedding.
And you've got a great tip to remind people about the distance, right?
Keep all those combustibles 3 feet from the heat.
And if you try to dry wet gloves by draping them over the heater,
that's not a good idea because that keeps the heat inside the heater, and either the heater will shut down, which it's supposed to, or it could even cause a fire if you're not careful.
And what about the power source for your space heater?
It's probably the one appliance in your home that draws the most power. So you want to be very careful. We always recommend trying to keep the heater somewhere close to an outlet so you don't have to use an extension cord. But if you do have to use an extension cord, make sure it's a large extension cord that's able to carry the current. In a fireplace, of course, the type of wood you use is very important. Don't use scrap wood. Use pre-cut, dry, seasoned wood of this type.
Not to use paper, is that correct?
Well,
Why?
that's right. It's so easy to start fire with a piece of paper or a piece of newspaper. In fact, even around the holidays, we find people use wrapping paper, and we'll throw that in the fireplace, but it's so light that it comes up the chimney and will actually block the flue, sometimes causing all that smoke to back up.
And John, despite all the precautions you may have taken, what else should you make sure you have in your home and make sure that it's working?
Well, certainly, whether you're using a space heater or a fireplace or not using those, having a working smoke alarm in your home is so extremely important. These little devices have cut the number of fire deaths basically in half since they were invented.
And experts say it's important to have an escape plan in case of a fire. You and your children should know 2 ways out of every room and know where to meet outside to make sure everyone is safe.
That is excellent advice. Finally, a bounce today on Wall Street. The Dow rose about 91 points and NASDAQ gained 14. Best thing about this cold, it's not going to last long.
Oh, thank you, Lord.
Thank goodness for that.
We'll soon be back in the 60s. Find out when after the break.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for sticking with us. We certainly had an active and an exciting day here in the world of weather. Our Southern Pine Electric Power radar showing us, though, that this winter storm is just about out of our way. We started the day with freezing rain and sleet and then eventually transitioned on into snow. And this storm, like I said, is about out of our way. Maybe a few flurries left there in some of our eastern counties. For the most part, is out of the way, but we are still dealing with those icy accumulations, and Mother Nature isn't going to be doing too much in our favor to help melt those roadways in the next day or so, but we'll get more to that in just a second. As of right now, the big story in the Pine Belt tonight is going to be the very frigid conditions at the Hattiesburg Airport. Check out your currents. It looks like 25 degrees your current temperature, feeling like 13 though when you factor in that wind gusting out of the north at about 14 miles per hour. Now we're going to take a closer look at a few more numbers across the Pine Belt. It looks like everyone is in the 20s as of this 10 o'clock hour. 23 up in Bay Springs, 23 Waynesboro as well, 24 degrees your current temperature in Leakesville, and as we look off toward the west a little bit, 22 right now in Collins as well as in Poplarville. Now we're going to go ahead and check out those winds gusting out of the north, actually seeing them kick up to about 15 miles per hour there in Bay Springs, 12 in Laurel, 14 in Hattiesburg, and 17 right now in Wiggins, so it's making it feel a whole lot colder than it actually is. Definitely want to stay inside and bundle up this evening. Here's a look at your feels like temperature. Our wind chill looks like 12 there in Waynesboro, 14 in Leakesville, only feeling like 10 degrees right now for those folks in Poplarville. So of course, because of those very cold conditions, we do have that hard freeze warning in effect until tomorrow at about noon. That's when that's going to last until. Now, like I said, Mother Nature not really cooperating so much in terms of helping us thaw out those roadways, start to warm up a little bit. We do have a very cold night in the forecast and some clouds throughout the evening. Now tomorrow, that's when we'll finally manage some sunshine. The big question is how much of that ice is going to melt. I'm not really calling for too much significant melting. We're only going to rise above that freezing mark for about 5 or 6 hours if we are lucky. Then by Wednesday night into Thursday morning, it will be even colder than what we'll see tonight under those crystal clear skies. Now taking a closer look at those temperatures, like I said, very cold night in the forecast. This model is bringing us down to the low range of the 20s across the Pine Belt, but I think we'll actually be getting down into the teens this evening. Then as we go throughout your day tomorrow, heating up around 10:30, right around that freezing mark, 32 in Hattiesburg. Hattiesburg, 31 there in Laurel, 33 in Richton is what this model is calling for. And we're only going to top out in the mid to upper range of the 30s for your Wednesday. Now notice we'll be dropping back down to that freezing mark by the time we make it to about dinner time. 31 there in Waynesboro, 32 in Richton by around 6:30. So like I said, only managing about 5 or 6 hours above that freezing mark. And then on your Wednesday night into Thursday morning, our temperature is dipping back down well into the teens. Now, of course, we did have to deal with those conditions out there on the roadways, very dangerous and quite a few travel headaches, but some folks, I'll go ahead and get out of the way here for you, were able to stay out there and enjoy a nice snow day. Looks like we are sledding in style for folks there. They're having a good time sledding out there and enjoying the snow. And then this gentleman here decided to lay down in it and go ahead and make an ice angel there in the sleet. And continuing on that positive note, notice that we do see a warm up in the forecast. By the time we make it to Saturday, check out that high temperature of 69 degrees, believe it or not. Carrie and Steve, back to you.
I don't think I've ever been so happy to see 58 degrees, 69 degrees.
Looks good.
It looks good to me.
Good.
Up next in sports, former Mississippi Valley State coach Carl Morgan has a new home.
And it was Super Bowl Media Day in New York as the Seahawks prepare for the Broncos.
As I'm sure you've heard by now, there's a bit of wintry weather here in the Pine Belt, and that didn't spare any of the outdoor sportsplexes here in Hattiesburg. All of our outdoor sports arenas were covered with at least some frost today. M.M. Roberts Stadium, Pete Taylor Park, and Smokey Harrington Park, to name a few. Frost covered the area, but baseball will begin next month. February 14th at Pete Taylor Park with Southern Miss hosting Stony Brook, and February 22nd at Smokey Harrington with Hattiesburg hosting Perry Central. And the Super Bowl is on Sunday, so the weirdness that is Super Bowl Media Day took place today. There were people dressed up as superheroes and even George Washington, but there were a few good questions asked, especially of four-time MVP Peyton Manning and quarterback Russell Wilson. But amid everything going on at Media Day, the two quarterbacks did have time to talk about what Sunday's game means to them.
I've been being asked about my legacy since I was about 25 years old, which I'm not sure you can have a legacy when you're 25 years old or even 37. I thought you had to be like 70 to have a legacy. So I'm not 100% sure what the word even means. I'm still in the middle of my career. Let me rephrase that. I'm down the home stretch of my career, but I'm still in it. It's not over yet.
To be here on this stage, only my second year, it's a tremendous blessing, a tremendous honor, and you know, I'm so grateful every day. That every morning I wake up, you know, my goal is to try to be the best one day, and it's a blessing to be here and to just be able to play the game of football, just to be able to run and have the legs to run and have the arm to throw and the hands to grip a football and to be the mind to be able to think and process things.
The Super Bowl between the Seahawks and the Broncos will kick off on Sunday at 5:25. And even though it isn't college football season right now, it seems like it's always here in Mississippi. Yesterday, Carl Morgan was introduced as the new football coach at Coahoma Community College. Remember, last month, Morgan was fired at Mississippi Valley State and eventually replaced by former JSU coach Rick Comegee. Morgan is now back in the game and ready to take his coaching to the JUCO ranks. Carrie and Steve, back to you.